In this video, I'm going to show you how to install the new ButtonWorx button repair pad into the Logitech Harmony remote. This is model 650. It also works with a 600, 665, and model 700 that all have the same button configuration. Now these are peel and stick little keypads. There's 3 layers of plastic or materials. You peel off the brown paper and you stick it down to the circuit board. And then your original buttons will push down on these buttons, which then push down on the circuit board, completing the switch. And it takes over the electrical function of the rubber keypad that has worn out little dots or painted contacts. Now, this remote was given to me and it has corroded batteries in it. I haven't taken it apart yet. I'm also going to show you how to deal with the corroded battery issue. But first, I want to show you there's 3 different sections, and you can get the whole kit, or you can get just parts if you want. This part is the top, and it does these buttons and the side display. It's the most popular. These little pieces tear off and fix those separately. The middle piece does all of those buttons, and then the bottom does all those. Now, these buttons here, the channel up and down, and this and these are all metal snap domes. You can't fix metal snap domes. You can only replace them or clean them. Deoxit is an optional part for this, which is used for cleaning those snap domes. And some people have problems with these, the arrow keys and the OK, and they might be hard to push before you've done anything, or after installing the kit, they might become hard to push. But some people don't have any issues at all. And then this little part here, I'll show you later, is a sticker that goes down on those buttons. And what it is it could be dirty metal snap domes, which you need deoxit to clean, or it could be different variations in the manufacturing housing parts create just a little bit difference in height, making it hard to hit. And these little dots just increase the height a little bit, making the buttons work better. However, if you don't have problems with your buttons and you add this in anyway, you could lose the sort of clicks you feel it when you push these buttons, a little feedback click, and it could stop that feeling from happening because the button is actually almost being pushed because you've added too much space. So that's an optional thing. I'm going to take these batteries out and throw them away. Now, battery corrosion is a big deal because that gets in anywhere on the circuit board, it's going to slowly chew away at stuff, and it could break your remote, weeks, months, years down the road. So we want to deal with that. And we'll see how bad it is when we get it open. Now there's 4 screws here, and you need a pretty fine tip screwdriver. This is a PH0 or a 0 Phillips, and I think 0, 0, and 000 all work. There's 4 screws here, and then there's 2 hidden underneath this adhesive plate here. So the first thing I'm going to do is take those 4 bottom screws out. Certainly does help to have a magnetic tip screwdriver. If you don't have a magnetic tip screwdriver, you can easily make any screwdriver magnetic by rubbing a magnet on it. Yes, if you take a nice, good, high-power magnet and just drag your screwdriver across like that, it'll turn it into a magnetic screwdriver and last quite a while. Now, this is held down with adhesive, so you can, with a sharp, small screwdriver or other kind of tool, maybe you have some other tools to pry that open. It also helps to warm it up a little bit with a hair dryer. I've got a low-power heat gun. Getting that warmed up a little bit helps loosen up the adhesive. I'm going to carefully get that in there. And I don't want to grab a hold of it and pull it because it'll bend easily. And then it'll be hard to put it in. So I'm kind of inching my way down, lifting up a little bit and then getting the pry tool further down. So that way when I get it out of there, it won't have bent or distorted. So it'll be easier to put it back. This one did pull up a lot of the adhesive. You can always put something else down. Do not glue it. You could use like a double-sided tape. I like to use a very skinny flat screwdriver, and I put it in there. Some people prefer like a plastic card or plastic pry tool. I'm going to quickly try that pry tool here and just try to get it into the groove and slide it up. Yeah, that's working. And you don't damage it. So I'm sliding it up and trying to push the bottom housing kind of up and away. You can see the clips. So I just started on one side. I got it separated a little bit. Yeah, the bottom's a little difficult. I'm going to do the other side here. The nice thing about the plastic card, the metal tool, if I tell you to use a metal tool, you might stab yourself. I'm very careful about that. I've had a lot of practice, but so yeah, now that bottom part is out. So you just kind of keep working at it. If it gets too difficult, like I'm just sliding it up the side. If it gets too difficult, you could go back over to the other side and try it. And kind of work your way up the remote from the bottom. There we go. So there we go. I got most of it off now, and this is starting to raise up here. And when that raises up, this gets loose and can come out. And I'm carefully just trying to like twist it a little bit. Okay, so now I'm pulling up here and kind of twisting it a little bit, and that helps. There we go. See if I can see what's got that down at the bottom. It's just the plastic. There's plastic rings going over the plastic posts, and that's what was keeping it from coming apart easily. You can see the battery acid has left stuff is falling out of here. This is all dried up battery liquid. Okay, it doesn't look too bad. There's a little here and there, and I'm gonna want to clean this up. But on the board itself, I don't see much of a problem. I'm gonna, carefully look around. If you start seeing discoloration in the green, it'll turn like a darker color in patches, or it could be under the white area too. If you see anything like that, you want to clean it up with, you can use like baking soda stuff, but I usually just use isopropyl alcohol. I have a little bottle. 90% is better. If you can only find 70, that's okay, but there's more water in that, so you got to be careful letting it dry up. So now that we've got it open, I'll clean those later, but right now I'm going to take, there's 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3. And now we can just lift it up, and I'm going to just grab it right here on the battery and take the circuit board up. There's 3 different areas here. There's these buttons here, which is the top part. And then there's this white part is part of the light pipe. So the light from the backlight bounces between this white side and this white side and gets to all your buttons better for the backlight. And these buttons are actually, they're down inside this white sticker, so they're a little more difficult as far as making a keypad for. And that's why there's lines cut in all these buttons to make them reach down easier. We need to clean the buttons that weren't working right, and might as well clean them all. So you need some isopropyl alcohol. 91% is the best. I like 91%. If you only have 70, you can get away with it. It's just got more water in it. It takes longer to dry. But you can wet a Q-tip for these and just clean the buttons one at a time. Even if you think they look fine, there could just be a little bit of a coating, just invisible kind of oxidized coating on there. that will prevent them from working as well as they really can. Top ones are easier because that white film isn't there. The top part here is doesn't have that white layer, so it's no problem. But when you're putting this one on, here I'll start taking this apart. When you're putting this one on, you don't want the black dots in the repair pad to overlap the gold trim, which is conductive. We don't want to touch the button to the side of the gold trim. So when we put this down, we want to just make sure that the black parts don't overlap. Let's see if I can get a close-up. It's going to be fuzzy, yeah. So I don't want it to overlap the gold, like right there. When I stick that down, I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. Now the ButtonWorx keypads, you peel off this brown layer. They're made of multiple layers, a couple layers of clear plastic, and some people had problems where they were picking it at the side. They would actually peel the keypad apart with the brown layer on one half of the keypad, and they don't realize it. And that doesn't work because you've taken away the spacer. So I've added these sort of kiss cuts in the paper. So there's like a line there. On these little ones, there's a line in the middle. And this one, there's a line right there. And basically, you can just pick at that with your fingernail. And it makes it a little bit, now you have two things to peel off instead of one. But it's much easier to start for people that haven't had a lot of practice. Get those parts off of there. Now the adhesive on these is really almost not even necessary. It's all the adhesive is used for is keeping the keypad in place for reassembly, and doesn't shift around a little bit. But don't think that you have to stick this down really, really well, because we want it to be flat when we put it down. We don't want to push on the buttons when we're installing it. Just basically lining it up so that the black dots are over those forked contacts and not overlapping. None of them are touching the gold trim. There we go. And I don't want to be pushing down on this. I just laid it down. Okay, and now I'll do the side buttons. If you have a nice pair of tweezers, you might find them useful for helping you with the brown paper. I've done it a lot, so I don't usually use that. It also helps with these little buttons to put them down. I don't want any like contaminants, any little weird things in there. Right. So, yeah, these little ones are the hardest ones to put in place, but with using your fingers. So I got my tweezers here. Again, I don't want those black dots to be able to touch the gold outline trim. Now, for the metal snap domes, these need to be basically just treated with a cleaning chemical. Unfortunately, I already cut a line here. This isn't supposed to be here, but what you would do is heat up this film with hair dryer. You get it nice and warm. You just want it warm. That softens the adhesive. And then you can get down and start picking off at a corner. And if you need some help, maybe a little knife or something to lift up the corner, and then you can get in there with your fingernails and start just peeling it off. Now, this one, unfortunately, I cut, so that came right off. But it would just peel back. So what you want to do is if you're fixing these snap domes, you can peel back. You don't want to take this whole thing off because then it's hard to line up. So you go up like halfway, or in this case, I'm going to go up to here. So then I can get all these buttons. So I'll go up like that, and that opens up all these metal buttons. And what you can do is I have this little vial. You don't need very much of this stuff. It's deoxit cleaner and a little brush, and you can just get the brush wet like that. Now this doesn't stand up well unless you have something to put it in, so I'm going to put the cap back on. And you can just get those contacts, and they look like little bullseyes, so they're easy to spot. And you get that, just clean them up like that. There we go. Okay, now we have the middle and the bottom. And this we don't have to worry about any gold trim at all, because it's covered with that white. Get rid of this stuff. It's covered with the white plastic sheet. So I'm just gonna make sure that there's these circles line up with those cut holes, and then there's the LEDs. They're like little keyhole shape. Goes over the LED in the circle. So I just put that down. Now I didn't get it like super, like it's a little off on that, but it shouldn't be an issue. And if you do put it down and you want to move it, this will come off easily for the first day. After like a day or so, it gets harder to peel off. But I just lift up the corner, it'll come off, and you can realign it if you need to. Put it back down. Okay, and then got the bottom piece. And there's some cutouts for some holes and LEDs. And this one's different than some models have different holes. Okay, so lining up the LEDs with these holes for the LEDs. There we go. I can push these buttons and I can kind of feel click, 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 click. So they're probably okay. The OK button, I'm not getting a good, I can kind of tell, but it's not quite as noticeable as the other snap dome buttons. So I'm going to try, I'm going to show you anyway. So this one is it's just a clear sticker. And it's going to go over these buttons here. And there is no easy peel off thing, but it's only one layer clear sticker with a white paper backing. So I'm kind of picking at one of the corners. Okay, and it's kind of shredding there, so I'm going to go to a next one. There we go. And that one is peeling off instead of splitting and shredding. Okay, so get rid of the paper. Now I have the sticker. And I'm just going to line it up with the dots in the middle of each button. I don't know, just guessing maybe 10% of people had an issue with the OK and arrow keys. I still, I feel the click when I'm pushing these buttons. So I think the sticker pad in there is good. If it was too much, like you didn't need it and you're putting it in anyway, I don't think you get the feedback click. If you took this apart and this came out with it, this light pipe, sometimes they fall out pretty easy. This one's not coming out easy, but one side has black circles, and this one's kind of a concave opening. We want the black circles down on the rubber. Okay, now for this battery corrosion, I'm going to use old toothbrush and isopropyl alcohol. You can get isopropyl alcohol over this thing. It's not going to hurt it. So now I've cleaned up most of everything. And there's a little bit that's still stuck to this, and I'm going to kind of scrape it off with a screwdriver to help clean it. And then do a little bit more brush. And then, if you did get the deoxit, this is really good for this. So, I'm going to just soak this brush really well and just kind of go over the areas. And now we're going to put it back together. So pretty basic. You got the snaps. We got those like tubes that go over the posts. I'm just going to start down that end and kind of make sure that those are all in the right place. And up here we've got this thing and the plastic cover for the screws. So these holes go into these pins here where the screws go through. So basically it'll just go and sit down. You've got the plug, the USB plug right there. And then there we go. And then at that point, it's all in place and we can just push these snaps until they all go together. See if it'll go back in there. Now after you've peeled it off and damaged that adhesive, it doesn't really want to go back on that well. There is there's a little plastic pin, and I bet you there was one over there too. Yeah, there was one on this side and that side. The plastic pin on this side broke off, and I can see it's stuck in the glue, so I'm going to pick that off. It's stuck in the tape there. Where'd it go? I think I got rid of it. The other one is still in place. So I'm not going to put those 4 screws back in. We got the 4 screws you need to put in the bottom. And I'm going to power this up. I have no idea if there's anything wrong with this, but we're going to find out. Okay, so now if you want to test your remote, you probably already know how to do it, but usually you have to go into something like watch TV and then exit the help. Okay, now when I push a button, a little like wave symbol pops up in the corner. So the number buttons were always the hardest to deal with, and those are all working well. I can see when I push a button, that little symbol's flashing. And a lot of people have trouble with these side buttons. So those are all working.